All right, welcome everybody. So we're back with another episode of the S&N Show. Um, so this guy over here is the S, and he is
Jonathan Santini.
exactly. I'll be the N today again. I'm Kyle Nordwall. So Santini and Nordwall, and we're reviewing another movie. And this time we did, well, not this time. We did another movie in the theater. Well, yeah. God, I was getting all confused there. So we did another movie in the theater, and for the first time, we did like a actiony type movie.
Yeah, action horror. So,
With yes, action horror. So this movie was what was it called? It's called Ready or Not, right?
ready or not, yes. So,
Yeah, cool. Why don't you go ahead and just like in case people don't know what it's about or haven't heard of it, just go ahead and give them a little synopsis.
yeah, so I will give synopsis. I don't know if the rest of this video there will be spoilers, probably some spoilers, but we'll start with the synopsis. And basically, the film starts with a wedding, and everything seems hunky dory. The wife is madly in love with the husband, and everything's great. But the family has this mystery, something that happens after the ceremony at midnight. And the family is rich. The bride is coming from, I don't know if she was poor but she's definitely stepping up class wise.
Yeah.
And I use those words intentionally because later on I'd like to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, so something happens at midnight, and then whether you're ready or not, things begin. The true movie begins after midnight of this wedding for this really wealthy family. So.
Yeah. No, I think I know you'll get into that point later, and that'd be great if you lead that off as well. But yeah, it's important to note that it's not just a wealthy family; it's like a dynasty, right?
Yes,
so it's for generations.
They make games too. The family makes a generation of game makers.
Yeah, so it could be like Hasbro or, and it probably is seen like that, in the movie. But yeah, some mega rich dynasty family that got their money from the gaming, like board games, that kind of stuff, industry.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's like a synopsis, without going into spoilers. And I guess that's an important point to make. It seems like we don't intentionally give spoilers, but we're not going to guarantee there's no spoilers. But it seems like we do our best to not blow anything for people that watch this and then decide, hey, that sounds cool, I want to go see it.
Yeah. Always the tricky thing with reviews. You review it, but you don't want to spoil it. So.
Yeah.
So I guess let's start. Kyle, so what were your impressions of it? You're between the two of us, I would say the resident horror aficionado. How did you feel? What did you were you like super stoked after seeing it? Maybe describe a little bit first of what gets you excited about horror films, and then how does that apply to this?
Okay, cool. Yeah, I appreciate that setup. So I love horrors because I love the fantastical element, right? So, I also love science fiction and, adventure movies. I love make-believe, and I love like make-believe where it can be true. I like, getting jolted or surprised. I like surprises. I like, figuring things out. And horror is a genre that I love, some subgenres more than others. Like I'm not into, there's this subgenre of like torture horror, movies like Hostel and stuff like this.
Yeah, Saw.
Saw. Saw is a bit more on the creative side. So, I was okay with that. But yeah, I like, monsters and this kind of stuff. I just love like the fantastical element of horror. And also, I would say compared to most other genres, such a small percentage of horror movies, I would say, are really good. So there's not that many really good horrors out there, but when I find them, it's like it's just like the best thing ever for me. It's really, really exciting. And also, to be fair, I would say this movie, it's very small. Like it's subtly a horror. I mean, there's horror elements, but it's more just like a family that's just freaking psycho. Like, and I don't mean psycho like the movie Psycho, something like that. Like where there's, it's just it's almost like fun horror. And I think they even build it like comedy, horror, suspense. But I would say I would use the term I would use the label horror lightly.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. So that's why I love horror movies. Even things like The Exorcist that are really, really realistic and could be true. I love those as well. But this movie, for example, or in comparison, is way more on like the goofier. The writer, the director, they're having some fun here. It's not really meant to be taken too seriously. Yeah. Anything you want to add on to that, or next I'm going to go into, I guess, basically my review.
Yeah, no. The only points I want to add is, horror for me is similar. It's kind of like, it's such a broad term. It's kind of like rice. You can add anything to rice, and you get something magical with it. Whether you put some comedy, or you throw in a little bit of gore, and it's your expectations are you get scared, but what does that mean? Does it mean you jump out of your seat, or do you or is it more psychological? And that's what I like about horror. It's just another conduit to talk about different things, which is one of the points that I like about this film. And yeah, and when they're not good, like considered good, or they do the things that I like about it, they still could be really fun because they get you on the edge of your seat. So I like horror because there's a lot to it. There's so many variations of it that I really love it. So.
Yeah. You made me think of like the music genre rock. I mean, you can go from like extreme metal, screaming and all this kind of stuff, or you can, Lionel Richie, they're probably both under the genre rock, but like really, Shaun of the Dead is a horror. It's a zombie movie, but
right.
It is hilarious. It is, and then what's that? Hannibal Lecter. Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah, Silence of the Lambs. Yeah, Silence of the Lambs.
When I first heard that was so first I watched the movie, and then I saw it was under the genre horror and some other things, thriller and drama. I was like surprised, but I see there's definitely elements of horror, but it was blatantly, psychological horror.
Yeah. So yeah, no, it's cool. It's a great genre, and I've learned to really appreciate it. I like it a lot. So yeah, but about this particular film, with that said, what's your feeling about it? Did you like it? Did you hate it? What did you think?
Yeah, so I enjoyed it. So this is a third movie that we've done. The first one, The Farewell, was a family piece. A bit slow, but I thought it was a great movie. I'd say it's only slow in comparison to movies like this, or Lethal Weapon, or typical Hollywood. And then the second movie was the Stalker, which was the epitome of slow, right? So the reason I'm bringing up the first two movies we did is because I enjoyed this movie watching it. It was a fun movie to watch. And here's how I'll tell you how I felt about the movie. A few days ago, so we watched this, a week and a half ago, maybe 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, 2 weeks ago, yeah.
Yeah, and a few days ago, I realized that since watching the movie, I had not thought of it since.
Yeah.
So when I realized that, I kind of chuckled to myself, and I realized, So, on a scale of 1 to 10, I give it 6.5 whips. It was a fun movie, but I would go so far as to say, for me, it's forgettable. You know, so
Yeah.
good movie. The main actress, she's hot. You know, I'd say good acting. Um, and it was a fun, entertaining movie to watch, but not a must see. That's my condensed uh, review.
Okay. All right. Um, so I guess for me then, I guess we'll lead into me is I have actually thought about it a couple times since we've seen it, and here's why. Basically, two reasons. One, I really liked how they did play up on the class thing, which is what I alluded to earlier.
Yeah,
Like they were doing. I thought they did a pretty good job tying in her where she's coming from and where they've been as a family and where she is and like how they play off that and how rich people are bad and you know it was almost like a social commentary for today that like money rich money old people there must be something there must be something about them like they don't deserve what they have and you find out later on that you know it's you know, without having spoilers, I'm trying, that is actually the case. They kind of don't deserve it. And then the second thing too is I also really liked how you weren't sure like why they're doing this thing that they're doing at midnight. Like it's basically they're game makers and they have this game that they play after midnight. I could say that. And throughout the whole process, you're like, why are they doing this?
yeah,
Like, because you don't know for the reasons they're giving you if it's true or not. Like, are they insane? Like you were saying earlier, are they just crazy? You know, because they're rich and they have no idea, or will the things happen that they think in their crazy minds will happen? And I really liked how they played that up. And then what ended up happening at the end was pretty funny and
yeah, yeah.
so with that, I will give it 8 whips. And I don't think it's an absolute must-see, but I do think there are elements of it that make it fun and really interesting. And really, like for me, they could have done a little bit better, like with the two things that especially with the class stuff. Like they could have played with it more even, and like. But outside of that, like I think it was, you know, not a must see. But if you're a general fan of the genre, I'd say go see it, especially in the theater.
Yeah, yeah, and I will say this: I got exactly what I wanted. Like I
Okay.
was thoroughly entertained from start to finish. I didn't really know what was going to happen next, so they did a good job with like having the story take some interesting turns. Um, and they did, I feel, a brilliant job of putting in the humor in just the right doses and just the right places to not take away from the like the thriller aspect because lives were at stake. Like there were a few characters we had grown that I had grown as an audience member to you know attach to, so to speak, and I didn't know who was going to die when. Um, yeah, so great placement of comedy. There's you know some movies these days are starting to use like you know the phone like different apps or stuff like that as part of you know moving stories along, of course, because it's you know smartphones are kind of taking over the world. But yeah, there were some pretty funny scenes that I was laughing out loud with.
Yeah. No, and I think the filmmakers have gotten better. Like, because even I remember before, you'd be like, why didn't they just use your cell phone? And that would be like the biggest like plot hole in a film. But now they're actually incorporating it in there to kind of like you know get that scenario out of people's minds. You know. So yeah, there were some really good scenarios with that, and they played it up too in certain instances. Like there's a car scene that's pretty funny. I mean, you know, stuff like that. So yeah, I agree. And what else?
What did you think about like I don't know if character development's the right word, but the two brothers, right? Like most movies, the opening scene it tells us a backstory, and it shows the two brothers involved in a certain storyline, and then as adults, one of them is the one getting married, and the other brother is involved as well. What did you think about their relationship and like their character development? Like, do you find it interesting, well written?
I thought in the end it didn't really work, and the reason for that is like they set you up, and then at the end it was kind of like, like what ends up happening with one of the brothers. It seems kind of unnecessary so it wasn't terrible. I thought it was nice. It added that. I think the like overall, like the different relationships really worked. Like the mom, I think was a key. She was key. Mary Steenburgen. She was a key character in the whole film.
Yeah, and say the actress's name again.
A Steenburgen, Mary Steenburgen.
Oh, wait a minute. What?
Or is that right? Yeah, I think that's right.
No, who's the Andy McDowell? I thought.
Oh, it's Andy McDowell, not Mary Steenburgen. Pretty close, yeah. But no, you're absolutely right. It was Andy McDowell.
Yeah. She was. I just love Andy McDowell, and what a treasure in Hollywood.
Yeah.
I just watched Groundhog's Day recently, and her role in that was maybe simplistic, but it was beautiful. It was. I love her, so it's great seeing her in this movie as a psychotic, but loving mom.
Right. And I was just going to add that. Yeah, definitely a different character for her, and I really liked it. And she played it off really well. So
yes.
So yeah, although I thought the brother relationship was okay, like that worked out really well. Some of the other family members, like the brother-in-law, and some of the other sub members were good too. So yeah, I guess the reason why I'm kind of poo-pooing the brother thing is because it seemed like that was going to be the crux of the film, and it kind of wasn't at the end for me.
Yeah, I felt like the reason I asked that question was one, I was curious of your thoughts, and I felt like they squandered that a little bit. It was especially making it the opening scene, the backstory. They really could have milked it in a beautiful way, in an impactful and effective way. And yeah, all things said and done, it was a little bit squandered, I felt.
Yeah, agreed. And what else? I also like how the family, like, there's this like sinisterness to game makers, which was like they're tricksters and stuff like that. So they must be kind of bad. There was like some interesting like darkness to them, and I don't know. I don't know if there's any correlation between that and like making like the types of games that they were. I don't know. There was some other things, some subcontext that were fun but really interesting that I don't know if they were so intentional. I don't know if you picked up on anything like that. But.
Well, I in general, and I've been having this conversation with a few of my friends lately, in general, I love like the generalized character of the devil, like as he's in books and fiction and stuff like this, like the trickster, he's kind of messing with people's minds, and so yeah, I could see, and the devil has the concept of the devil has something to do with this movie, and I like the whole like messing with people. And there is, at the end of the movie, there was this the point of the joke's on you kind of a thing. So I noticed that a bit, and I did appreciate. I'm a sucker for the devil, like in fiction and movies and books and stuff like that, because he's usually. I like pushing people's buttons. Like when people are too uptight about life, I like the whole concept of, pushing people's buttons and have them kind of wake up a little bit.
Yeah.
So I did notice that.
Yeah, and it certainly does happen at the end. There is some waking up, as they say.
Yes, there is.
So yeah, I enjoyed it for sure. But yeah, there was like relationship with the brothers. Some other ways they could have gone that don't make it a 10 for me, a 10 whips. But with that said, I do think as far as the genre goes, it's good. I think it's probably better than some of the films that have come out recently, although I haven't seen too much that's come out, to be fair. I think you could probably speak to that a little bit more on current stuff that's come out horror-wise, or comedy, horror, or suspense. But yeah, I enjoyed it. So
Yeah, cool. Well, I mean, we're right at about 30 minutes, so not that we need to set the time there, but it seems like it's organically going about that time. And I don't know if we'll mention what's coming up next each time, but why not? So next up for us, we were gonna do The Man Who Fell from Earth, the 1976 movie with David Bowie. But like we found it on some platform, then it went away on that platform, and we're like, where do we see it? And even Amazon, it was only available on disc. It wasn't even available, to stream. So now we're gonna do the movie. Oh yeah, Suspiria, which is a remake of a horror movie from the 60s or maybe 70s. I think
it's 70s, and I think it's Dario Argento, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Names well enough from those years.
Yeah. I'll check it up, but yeah, it's Suspiria. The new version, though, we'll be doing. So.
With Tilda Swinton. Oh, all about Tilda Swinton, one of my favorite people in the history of Hollywood. I just think everything she touches just turns to gold. One of my most respected actors ever. She's just radiant and powerful. Oh man, she's amazing.
No, she is wonderful. And the original was 1977, and it is Dario Argento. But I saw the trailer for this one, and it looked really, really interesting. So I definitely want to check this one out for sure. So.
Yeah, I just briefly, I saw the original when I was a kid, maybe a young teenager, 13, 14. I don't have many memories of it. I just remember my friends and some other people saying like, wow, what a impactful, or what a kind of what a great movie. And so when I heard the new one was coming, or a remake, and I heard they did it quite different. It's like from a totally different, it goes in a different direction and it's from a different perspective. And then I just saw the name Tilda Swinton and I was like I'm in,
Yeah.
So I'm excited to watch that. All right. So 6.5 whips from myself, 8 whips from Mr. Santini over there. And that's the S&N Show.
All right. Thank you, Kyle.
Hell yeah. Thank you, Mr. Santini. And over and out.